pertains to wearing the Class 2 elastics, and also show you how this follicular movement can be used. It's a very important thing to know. And so if you work on children or young people and everything, this is something you really ought to know. The first slide, I'm not going to try to show you anything we worked up in this case, and had it all ready to go here, and I fixed this device to just almost make the person wear the Class 2 elastics. So don't pay any attention to these hooks right here. It's these that count right in this. Now we come in here with a rectangular wire, you see, and it fits in the 4 upper anterior teeth. Fits in the slot on that. Then it goes up and goes back into the auxiliary tube that we use headgears and no, the headgear would come in here, I'm sorry, but we use lip bumpers and intruding arches and things in there, plus this Class 2 device that will just almost make the person wear their Class 2 elastics. If they don't, it's not too good what goes on. Now, excuse me, on the side over here, you go up and go over the brackets and everything and go back into the auxiliary slot up above, and you put spring on here. But the first thing you check out with a Class 2 elastic and see how much force your elastic has, and then you put 2 ounces less spring force than you have elastic force. In other words, if this elastic ends here, I'm sorry, I drew it out to the other part. So your elastic is from here to here, and you figure out how much that elastic is. Say if it takes, say, 10 ounces to pull this elastic and pull it up to this point, well, then you would put 8 ounces in this spring and lock this little lock nut down, and there'd be 8 ounces of force pushing against the molar going that way, and 8 ounces pushing forward up here on these 4 anterior teeth. And if you had the same thing on the other side, you'd have there'd be 16 ounces of force. That's a whole pound on these 4 teeth. When you take the rubber bands off, you would have that much force on these teeth. Now the rubber bands would have 10 ounces, so there's 2 extra ounces in there, and those 2 ounces on each side are plenty. They will move and correct the Class 2 malocclusion, and I've shown this in several cases in here. In 2 or 3 months, whereas if you are dependent on the person to wear the elastics, they don't wear them near as much as they would like for you to think they're wearing them. See, but you put these on, and I had a interesting thing. I had this young man who was in an orphanage, and I was doing his work for nothing. And it went on for about 18 months, and I wasn't getting to first base. He just was not wearing the elastic, so I was just going to take him out of the braces. And a person that I had straightened his teeth earlier, and they were going to let him out of the orphanage. He was going to adopt the kid, and he said, if you'll keep these braces on him, I'll make sure he wears the elastic. Well, I put this stuff like this on it, and I didn't have to depend on him to make him wear them. So And a year or so after I got through with this case, in 2 months, by the way, we had his Class 2 problem fixed. And after we had been out for a year or so there, he finally told me, he said, man, when I took those rubber bands off to eat dinner or something, just 30 minutes or so, my front teeth were hurting up here. I had to put the rubber bands back to keep my teeth from hurting. And that's true, because all the spring pressure here, it's going back, of course, and it's going forward with the same force. So on both sides over here would be like 16 ounces of force on those 4 front teeth. And you can certainly feel it. And so that it really starts people thinking, and so they remember to put the elastics back, and then the pain goes away. But the 4 ounces that's left, the 2 over here and 2 over there, will correct this whole thing, and it keeps the teeth together here at the same time. You can look at those cases, or you can try it yourself. It works. I'm not pulling your leg. If you don't think it does, just put it on somebody, and it will. But you need the brackets over the upper bracket on the molar, and that's all. You've got a headgear and a regular archwire slot, and then your auxiliary slot up above, and that's where this one fits, and that's where you run that spring in there. We've got videos showing you all about how to put this on, so I won't try to cover all that right here. So I think we had pretty well gotten down the line, but I don't see any big Class 2 deal, and we had the same thing over here. Now your hook is better off if it's on the arch wire. So it pulls back here, and then this pushes this arch wire back through that molar back here, and it takes the force of this spring and it overpowers it, and it has a couple ounces left. And so on both sides, that 4 ounces is what brings these teeth back or corrects your Class 2 problem in there. And it actually makes the person. Now I had one kid out of all the people we used this, one kid wouldn't do anything and he didn't wear the elastic, and he would not. And it took his front teeth before we even knew. I mean, he had his front teeth sticking out there like mad, you know. So we had to give up on that kid, or I forget exactly what. We didn't just totally give up on him, but that kid wouldn't wear them at all. So we got the parents back, and I think we finally negotiated with the parents, and they really watched him and took care of it, and we got something done. But it was a mess. That's the only one that wouldn't do it. Everybody else wears the rubber band. I mean, they can be 40 years old. If they got a Class 2, if you put that on them, they're going to wear the rubber band. But it's primarily for kids. And so if you're a pediatric dentist, or you're a general dentist that does a lot of children, you're out in a little country town or something, or even wherever you are, if you're working on kids, you need to know this. Now, this part of the Class 2 part works on adults as well as kids. Now I'm going to get over here in just a minute, and we'll show you the follicular part of this video. He's not brushing the teeth good there. Well, you can see a close-up, and this is that auxiliary tube. And when we fix this wire, we go back here and take a double optical and kind of bend the end of it in back there, so if the person takes the rubber band off and doesn't watch, you know, it would just bounce, just shoot the whole darn thing out the mouth. So we get this, that catches it back here at the back. So here's where you've got 8 ounces of force on this spring right here. And as this whole thing goes back, it doesn't separate the molar and the bicuspids and everything. It carries them all together. It goes back totally together. It goes, and it's interesting to watch that work. Now, okay, this is a little close up on that side. The same thing. We down here on the bottom now, we line it up, and we're just doing a class 2 correction down here. And if you want that to go real smooth, you can just come in and put a little thin coat of acrylic on this and let them touch their teeth together and take off everything except where the points of the teeth, the cusps touch there, and that makes it easy for this to slide so you don't get the cusp locking the jaw in position that way. Okay, this is showing the rubber bands again. No big deal. These are little sliding hooks. Now we used to solder them on here with the arch wire like that. You could still do it if you want to, but not too many people do all that. Okay, just several views of the elastic this young person's wearing. All right, I've got, I think, about 5 views on this x-ray that I want to show the follicular movement of the teeth, and you need to understand that also. Now this is a deciduous cuspid right here, and it comes out, and there was a piece of one up above, and it came out too. Now this is deciduous, and here that's a deciduous cuspid. Now the permanent cuspid is going to come in on top of the permanent lateral. See how this is headed in there? It'll be up on top of that lateral. And this cuspid is erupting, and it will get on top of the laterals down here or jam up beside them real close. And this is a crowded case. If it's full at all, then you can sacrifice the first bicuspids, and it works like a charm. But if you're going to be dished in, you have to do some tremendous expansion to get the case out like that. Now, here is the next panorex we've got, and you can see the permanent cuspid coming in right here, and here's the permanent lateral in here, and this is going to be right on top of that. And these 2 teeth are here, so it can't move in that direction, and the follicle around this cuspid is sticking out over on this side. It's mashed up against the cuspid over here. Down on this area, the cuspid is coming in right over the lateral tooth right here. The bite's deep, and this one's coming in and headed over this one, this lateral. This one's over here, not as bad as this, but it's going to be right on top of that. Now, I'm going to show you how you use this follicular force will take these teeth right off of those teeth. So, if you can afford to sacrifice the first bicuspids, now we get wisdom teeth in on this case. I'll show them to you in another panorex. But we'll take this tooth out, and this follicle will round out over here and push this tooth in this direction. This one will too, and it'll shove this tooth in that direction. You take this away over here, this can drift. It moves over in that direction. Same thing back here. You see how this cuspid is coming up in here. Now this follicle, when you take this out, this follicle will round up and kind of thicken out, and it'll push this tooth in that direction. Same way over here. Now just watch what I'm telling you here. There, we still haven't taken them out, but here this cuspid is coming in kind of over this lateral. This one is not as bad, but it's up against it pretty bad. And now we're going to take out the first bicuspids right here. And when we do, this follicle will push that tooth right out over that. This one will push this one out. This one will come out. And this cuspid up here will come out. Now I'm going to go one more in here. So we take the teeth out. Now look at this tooth right here. So this is rounding out. This one is coming out here. I don't know how quick this is after we took the teeth out, but this tooth has moved away. This one has also done this. And let's look at one more panorex here. Now this is the end that I've got this, but we went ahead and then started the braces, and we had plenty of space in there, and you can see the wisdom teeth are forming back here and here, and I think this child is 10 years and 7 months right now. And then we were able to bring those in. He wore the device, pulled the section back into Class 1 relation, and I don't have the final stuff. I think this is the end of it, but anyway, if you remember where those cuspids were, now look at where they were. In other words, this cuspid is running right into this tooth right here. Here, this one is, this one is, this one is. So take this video and see if you can learn what the follicular pressure will do. The tooth is kind of like it's a setting, say this cuspid, is sitting there and it's in a sac. And if you push on one side of that sac, if it's out in the open, you push over here and flatten that out, and there's no resistance in here, this tooth it'll move over that way, and this again will form a round ball because that holds more fluid or anything than any other shape, and that's why the world is round, and sun and all the planets and things. And so it pushes it back while it forms that. So this follicle moves the teeth, and that's what you should understand. And so I'm going to hush, and I've been in here about 19 minutes, and I may have talked too long, but this is an important thing that all pediatric dentists should know, and anybody working on children ought to know. So I'm going to sign out, and I hope you watch this and get on our channel, and so you can be with us. I'm going to close out now if I can get this deal over to the other side and